I did not do that. Okay. I don't know how the music stops. Oh, there we go. The music is stopping. Oh my gosh. Okay. That was a the show must go on moment.
I want you to know, okay, so
Hi,
For the-
Woody. Thanks for being here. Wait to hear what just happened.
hello and welcome to the show.
Welcome to Keeping It Real. And this is Skylar's fault because we are keeping it real based on Skylar's nudge because I just got a face and eyes, hi Jen, filled with hot peppers.
Habanero.
I just washed all of my makeup off. I'm drowning myself in water. I thought I was gonna have to go to the ER and Skylar says, well, we could just keep it real and you can go on. So guess what? No makeup. I'm going on. I've got a cold washcloth because today we are talking about fear and that was scary. So this is perfect.
It's funny that you say that because literally 2 seconds before you called me, I was gripping my eye because I had just swung a jacket and the zipper hit me in the eye and I was crying, like full on having to fix my makeup. And as you were calling me, I was fixing my makeup and you're like, so I got habanero in my eye. And I was like, what is happening with her eyes?
My whole face right now. If everyone, hello Annette, hello Jose, hello Jen, Woody. Thank you guys so much for coming to the show. This is Keeping It Real. This is my daughter Skylar. She is my producer and co-host. And today we are talking about fear, how it stopped you, how it shouldn't stop you, how we work through it. And so, you know, outside of the fact that my face is on fire and red and swollen from getting habanero on it just a few short seconds ago, we are going to stick on theme and stay with it, and we are going to bring you a show today. So I had posed the question to Skylar. If anyone doesn't know, this is my daughter. She's 23. And we were talking about how fear keeps us frozen, how fear keeps us from moving forward. It was so funny today. I went to lunch with a girlfriend she's an amazing entrepreneur, and she said that she doesn't have the fear gene. She's like, I just don't have it. She said she has it on weird stuff, like she thinks that a tsunami is going to hit Chicago, but she doesn't have fear when it comes to failure. She doesn't have fear when it comes to trying new things. And so I had posed a question to you earlier today to bring to the table tonight is when has fear affected you in a negative way that kept you from moving forward?
So, fear. I feel like this one's always a hard one because it's like we always see fear as such an interesting thing.
Well, we think it's integral to life. I mean, we think that we have to fear things because our parents teach us fear to keep us safe, right? You know, don't go in anyone's house, you know, walk on the sidewalk, wear your seatbelt. There's those types of fears to keep us safe. But then I think they also use fears to keep us sometimes, they don't mean to, but small, you know, like get a normal job, you know, the house with the white picket fence and 3 kids, like live a very normal life, you know, things like for me, I know that I am programmed to be afraid to go to like Colombia or certain countries because of the media, right? And I just talked to my friend. She went to Cabo, and I'm like, do you stay on the property when you go to Cabo? She's like, no, I'm everywhere, and I go by myself. Again, she's missing the fear gene, and so is fear healthy? Or do we have to start checking ourselves and understanding that all of the fears that we have are kind of bullshit and keep us from moving forward in life?
Now, I agree with what you're saying in that sense. So, one I'd like to bring it back to is if people don't know, I lived with my mom my entire life, all the way up until my sophomore to junior year. And she moved to Florida, and I ended up staying in Ohio. And I feel like a fear there would have been like the change of I had all these things set up for me in Ohio that I liked being friends, that type of thing. And to change this to Florida was scary. So I guess that could be a fear, but in the sense that it wasn't necessarily all negative. Like in that 2 years, I would have never, without that fear, I would have never got closer with my stepmom. I would have never got closer with my dad. My little brothers had that experience of Ohio. And I eventually made my way to Florida 2 years later. Now, in some type of alternate universe, do we know what would have happened with the lack of that fear? But sometimes
It's just the way it goes. I mean, it's just the way your path goes. Because recently, and the reason I brought fear up is because recently I've started to recognize that the things that we fear, in my opinion, now I'm not talking about putting your life in physical danger. This is fear of, failure, fear of taking that job, fear of getting hurt in a relationship. I mean, there's a lot of different fears that live inside of our head that hold us back. For example, I was talking to somebody today and she was saying that she had a job that pays, average, and she didn't like it, but she feared putting herself out there and getting a new job, and like, what if, the fear of the what if. And I said, look, I go, you're in a job you don't like. You can't fall off the floor. This is as bad as it gets. Like anything from there is up, especially like we had talked about her pay and so on and so forth. And so I think that we need to start recognizing that these buttons that live inside of us as fear, you know, I think are the very things that we need to address and work on and figure out, is it a real fear or is it a story that you're telling yourself?
Now, here is a big question that I feel like a lot of girls my age struggle with. And going back to, so she wasn't maybe happy in that job, but what about when, not that you're not unhappy, but you're not super happy and you're just kind of in this place of like, well, it's not bad and it's not good. You have that fear to find something better because you're afraid that you're going to find worse. What's
Right.
your advice in that type of situation of how to get out of that stuck in between of now, to apply this to younger generations or younger people would be that relationship. You're
Yeah.
in a relationship with a guy, he treats you awesome, he treats you great, but maybe he doesn't dance. Maybe he doesn't want to go traveling. Maybe he doesn't want to do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Q, or Z, but he is the perfect whatever. Like this is, that type of thing. Now, what would be
Right.
your advice on how to get out of that? That's what I see a lot of people my age struggling with.
Is that they settle.
Because they're afraid that, yeah, exactly, settle.
So whenever I look at settling, I look at it as a big ball of beige. It's a big nondescript ball of beige. It's being non-committal. It's literally just existing. And so when you put yourself in a situation where it's beige, you're just kind of going through the motions, you're not really inspired, I believe, and then I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you're in a decent job. If you are not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually ignited, you're existing. And as I tell people on appointment all the time, I coach, life coach, is today, everyone watching, this is the youngest you're ever going to be. This is as young as you're going to get. Everything from here is moving forward. And so I like to look at everything. For example, I do past life regression work on people. I put them under hypnosis. I decided at the end of last year, someone has to pay me a lot of money to do that because I don't love sitting there for 5 hours. And so I don't want to do anything that does not light me on fire. And this is why. If I continue to do something that I don't like, or that is beige, or that is average, it is keeping me from what the universe and my life has in store for me out there. You can't get there if you're here. You can't swirl around in this pot because that over there is waiting for you to get off the pot. Make a decision. Stop living your life inside of average. And then wake up one day when you're 70 and go, you know, that job that I had, that I lived my whole life, or that person that I was with, or that experience that I never went on vacation because I was afraid. And that's the thing. I think these fears of failure is actually keeping us, I love this, from actually going where we should be going and getting better and more excitement and the life that we are supposed to lead. I think it's keeping us in a purgatory, if you will.
Now, how have you gotten over personally going back to that guy? He's a great guy. He's awesome. He treats you well. He has a good job, blah 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 blah. You have a good job, a good salary. How do you get over those societal talk downs and that keeps those fears alive? You know what I mean? What's your
So, I always go to Lady Gaga and Beyonce. Lady Gaga and Beyonce are not average. They did not accept average. They accepted the journey and path in life that they were destined for. And I believe every one of us are destined for greatness, no matter what that looks like. It could be that you are the quintessential best barista at Starbucks. It could be that you are the best teacher in your middle school. It doesn't have to be that. But when I look at people who have changed the world, and I say they didn't settle. And this is the thing. I'm married to my husband. I love him. I think he's awesome. Is he perfect? No. Is any human perfect? No. So when you're in a relationship with a human being, we have to understand that everything they're not going to be perfect, but at the same time, if you're uncomfortable, if when you wake up, when my husband is on his way home, like I heard him, like I locked him out by accident tonight. And so when I heard him down there pushing the door and trying to get in, I get excited about that. And we've been married for almost 15 years. We've been together for we've been together for 17 plus years. I still get excited. When I get up in the morning, and this is interesting, I get excited to do what it is that I do. I get excited to do Fireside. I get excited to do my podcast. I get excited to talk to clients. I get excited to get on TikTok because this excites me. It's not a job. I literally do it 24 hours a day. I get excited at 3:00 in the morning to pick up my phone to see what kind of comments people have left. And so I look at that as living. And you know what? I haven't even told you. I did I sent in some auditions for some voiceover work, and I didn't even listen to it. I just sent it. Like, I'm like, who cares, right? And so then Jim's like, well, I want to listen to it. Jim's my husband. And I was like a little bit nervous to let him hear it. And I got to tell you, it was pretty damn good. But I'm like, who cares? I could be afraid, but who cares? Honestly, no one's paying attention to us. They're too worried about themselves. You know what I mean? So all this shit that lives in our head that keeps us from this amazing life that we want in the future, all this thing that we're like, people are paying attention. How much are you guys paying attention to anyone around you? Like, are any of you that focused on other people's entrepreneur endeavors or this, that, or the other? No, and neither does anyone care about what we're doing. All this fear, and like when my husband went and he worked at the Phoenix Coyotes hockey team, right? And he was gonna go take a job at the Cleveland Indians. He works in sports, clearly, and he said, he's nervous. He wasn't sure if he should go. He was real young, and you know what his sister told him, Chris? You know what Chris told him? You can always come back. You can always quit. I get that question with clients all the time. Well, what if I don't like it? Get a divorce, leave, sell the house, move, get a different job. We're not stuck in really anything except for, kids. Like once you have kids, that you are pretty kind of stuck with once you have them. But I mean, like, marry whoever you want. Just pay attention to who you have kids with. But I think that this kind of stuff, And you just went through a fear situation. I can't believe you're not talking about your job and making that leap. I mean, that to me is huge.
Quitting my job, working for myself.
At
Yeah.
23 years old.
Yes, it was funny. I was telling my mom, I called her, I was like, Mom, do I do it? And she's like, I think you know the answer to that question. I was like, well, I watched this TikTok. And I was like, and it basically told me I should do it. So I gotta. So
But it's
sometimes
scary.
a TikTok, you just gotta hear it. Sometimes you just
Sometimes TikTok will change your life. I can't see now. I know that you're, doing the show. If there's anyone out there, just so you guys know, Jen, Annette, Kleber, if any of you want to come on stage or you have a question, just go ahead and type something in or raise your hand and we can bring you up on stage. If you don't want to be on video, that's fine too. If you have any question or if you have any comments on the topics of times in your life that, either fear held you back and you wish that it wouldn't. Honestly, I think the reason that I love this topic so much, Skylar, is because I do believe that fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of societal pressures, I believe that fear has almost entirely shaped my life because of the fact that I was always profoundly, excruciatingly worried about what people would think. And so it was my body, my hair, my face, what I did, the way I put myself out there. Oh, well, what if I put myself out there and I've gained some weight and people saw? What if I, wasn't perfect and this, that, and the other? And I finally just realized that this is all a story that I'm telling myself. This is all stuff that's living in my head. And I think that if I wouldn't have been so afraid of all of that judgment and scrutiny, that I would have had a career much earlier in life.
I agree with that. Definitely, you could tell, the moment that, and I remember not exactly the phone call, but the energy shift more so, I would say, of switching from you being afraid of your family's voices and your friends' voices and, everything about what it is Meredith Willits is doing. Once you basically said, I don't care,
I'm over it.
you're
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna post this TikTok of me jumping
Yeah.
in the pool, and everyone can SMD if they want to,
Yeah.
and whatever. And
Yeah.
that energy shift right there,
It's
when
huge.
you broke the fear, is when it was amazing. And Kleber was here for this. Kleber, I'm accepting your request.
Yes,
Hi, Clever.
hello. Yes, I was there for that. That was a magical moment. Um, you just saw like someone embrace themselves fully in like the most natural and like, I don't know, authentic way possible. And so it was like seeing like someone as a child again, like their creative spark just went like this.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, you've dealt with some pretty big fears with jobs and school and life, and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any comment on our topic tonight, Clever?
yeah, yes, I do. And it's about the idea that like fear isn't or is worthless all the time. I think that for some people, fear serves a purpose as a protector. Like it is there to let you know that the area or space that you're in isn't necessarily safe. But I think what people get carried away with is fear is like a toxic boyfriend or a toxic girlfriend in the sense that they are just sucking the energy out of your life. And so sometimes fear isn't something people can get rid of because they can't get rid of their space. But I think that what they can have control over is their relationship with that fear and just allowing it to maybe share presence with them, but also know that like their entire life doesn't need to revolve around that specific emotion.
And as you're talking about that, I love that so much. As you're talking about that, Clever, what I keep thinking about is that a lot of times when we face our fear, it just disappears. Like the story that we have in our head of what X is going to be like. So what flying in an airplane is going to be like, or what quitting your job is going to be like, or getting broken up with. We think that we're just going to dissolve. We feel like we're not capable of handling that kind of a stressor. And when you're sitting there talking about, like, like it's your relationship with it, and I see that as you can actually change that relationship with the fear. You can change how you connect with that fear and the story. Is this story based in reality? Or is this story based in something that I've heard somewhere or my mom? I mean, because we've seen it 1,000 times. And I was so neurotic about not doing this. Like, but my mom was afraid of bridges and afraid of storms and all this kind of stuff. And we could literally be in a tornado and I'd be like, this is so much fun, kids, because I never wanted to pass those fears, which is a story I was telling myself, down to my kids. And now it's a story that they would then be telling themselves. So I think that the thing that with fear is what we're getting here tonight is it can change as maybe we conquer it or as we meet it in the middle or as we start to understand if it's a real fear or if it's just something that's made up in our head, because no one probably cares, or people probably were excited when I did start putting myself out there. The people that love me do care, and the people that don't, they don't care if I'm putting myself out there or not. So it's really about digging deep inside of ourselves. But I'm going to go back to, I think that these fears, like societal fears, not, death fears, but societal fears, I think that they are exactly, because they're so specific to each of us. I think that they're what's keeping us from moving forward in our life. I really do. And if you can conquer it, I feel that the sky's the limit.
Yeah, yeah, honestly, and you brought up a point that I just want to go back to as well, and that is that humans or our souls continue and fear does not. And
Yeah.
you didn't really say it directly, but that's what I kind of picked out of there, and it kind of gave me a realization that ultimately, like, the truth is fear is more mortal than we are. So, and that's, I
I
guess,
love
a
that.
comfort.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, with past life regressions and stuff like that, they say, Dolores Cannon, I trained under her concept is that fear is for entertainment purposes only because we can't be killed. Like, we are eternal beings. And so, yes, can our body die? Of course. But most of the fear that we have is just to excite us. It doesn't really usually play out. All of the panic and anxiety and worry and belaboring that we do all day about the future, majority of all of that stuff never comes to fruition. It's just this swirling and story and anxiety producing stuff that I don't know if we think that we're going to think ourselves out of, or if we prepare enough that we won't have to deal with. But the majority of what we worry about in the future, none of that stuff usually comes true. And if it does, we don't die because of it, But how much time do we spend laying in bed at night or getting ourselves all worked up for something that never happens? What a waste of time. And then also, then that keeps us small and average and, as I say, beige, because we're worried, well, what if, and oh, I love that. I'm going to go here, Skylar, what you just said. What if the next job that I get isn't as good as this one? Well, what if it's 10,000 times better? Why is the negative more accessible than the positive?
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Very true.
How come our brains are so much more able or capable or willing to look at what we would have in a negative perspective instead of going, well, shit, what if I set the world on fire and get my dream job?
Now here, this is a good one too that a lot of people dwell in. They prepare for the negative, so they're already prepared. Okay, so driving to work, I'm 30 minutes early because I think there might be traffic. Oh my God, we hit traffic. Well, we prepared for this. Like, why are we now going to make this a whole nother negative situation? Like, you already planned about this. You already made it a situation, and now we're going to dwell in that negative. Like, what is your response to maybe getting out of that negative space, getting out of that, maybe, I don't even know how to phrase it, that fear, I guess, to say.
So I always say the fender bender is saving you from the car accident.
Hmm.
So I would go to the space of, really knowing that where you are in this moment is exactly where you're supposed to be. So if you run into traffic, is it, you're, as you get older, you realize things like that won't kill you, and you won't die from being a little bit late. Although I tend to be profoundly and disgustingly on time because I'm nuts. But I look at everything and go, okay, well, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be for whatever reason. So I have a lot of faith in the is of life instead of worrying about things that I have no control over because I know how worrying affects my body in such a negative way. It affects my mood. So I try to really accept where I'm at instead of losing my mind and, getting myself all kerfluffled.
Jen commented and said, so much more of a habit to ask, what if I fail instead of what if I succeed? So true.
So true, Jen. Yes, thank you so much for that. And I think that that's programming from childhood, right? Like, you're walking along a sidewalk, right? And so what is your mom or dad or, babysitter or whatever family? Don't fall. Watch the curb. Get out, we've
Step
been
on a crack, you'll break your mom's back.
you'll
Like
break your mother's back. I'm still
exactly
here.
little sayings.
And I mean, like, think about it. Like, you better study. You're going to get a D. Well, what if I don't study and I get an A? Like, literally, our programming from birth is that something horrible is about to
Yeah.
happen at any minute. And so you must be prepared. I mean, think of the insanity of that. Like, don't do this, don't do that. I mean, it's like bumper. I mean, like, think of the way that we baby proof houses now. Like, my mom used to put me in a car and my car seat was her underwear drawer. I mean, we used to play with lawn darts for Christ's sakes. So I mean, like, but we're always being warned. So no wonder kids are constantly in this state of fight or flight, and they're constantly in the state of trying to get out of fear or being fearful. I mean, as parents, we basically bill the world as a very dangerous and unsafe place.
For
This is
sure.
a crazy conversation.
It is a crazy combo. Do we want to invite maybe people up onto stage if they have any questions, comments?
Yeah, Jen or Annette, if you want to, you're more than welcome to come on up. We got a nice small group tonight, which I love. I do Zoom calls with people, and I love when we have small group. Yes, is it nice when we have a lot of people? Well, yeah, of course, but some people don't want to. Some people just like to watch, and that's totally okay too. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is a really big sticking point because as I move forward, and interrupt me, Skylar, if someone wants to say something, or if you do, as we move forward, as I move forward in my day, I am really at this point and in my life where I'm starting to look at fearful things. I don't care if it's going to India or cutting my hair all off or trying something new. I'm starting to look at fear pressure points, and we all have them. And I'm starting to look at fear pressure points as a direction that I should actually go so that my life isn't beige. To inspire myself, to waken myself up, my heart, my mind, my energy, and kind of like really get it going. And the thing of it is like I keep thinking of the fact that you just graduated from college and you have all you were in a sorority, and as women, we have also been profoundly taught to be hyper aware of our surroundings, like walk to your car with your mace or put your keys between your fingers, and as soon as you get in the car, lock the doors, right?
I think this is always funny because I always walk to my car or I'll go and get something from outside and I'll go, bye, Clever, I'll try not to get killed. And he'll go, that's not something that was on my mind. And he goes, is that really what you think every time you leave? And I'm like, no, like genuinely, I walk outside and I'm like, I really wish I wasn't going outside alone right now. Like I'm a 23-year-old grown female. Like
But and
not
that's
something he thinks.
Yeah. I mean, it's boys don't live in a constant state of hyper awareness and being afraid, and so being women, um we do tend to live inside of that space of, you know where am I going to, trade my Facebook marketplace purchase? Where am I going to go on a first date? Do I tell someone where I'm at? Do I have my location services on? I mean, think of all of the things that women and some men too do from the minute they get up in the morning, locking the doors, locking the windows, having a dog, having an alarm system, to being hyper vigilant when you're out and about, going for a walk, having a rape whistle. What?
Everything, yes.
I mean, it's constant. So the thing of it is I think that maybe we are programmed, we are, I don't know, indoctrinated into being fearful people. And so when that fear, our physical safety fear, right? When our physical safety fear morphs into our fear of success or making changes or getting outside of our normal box, that's when we start to need to pay attention. Is this a real fear? Like walking, in Miami at 2 o'clock in the morning by yourself or, whatever? Or is this a fake fear, which is going and trying a new job? And, it's so interesting as I'm talking about that, what I keep seeing is all of the sports and activities that as a society, we have created, four wheeling and zip lining and what's that thing, bungee jumping. If
Roller coasters, amusement parks.
Exactly, it's like that. Those are those safe fear things. So we're like being pushed to the end, right? And so I would look at and say to you, imagine that getting a new job or going and putting yourself out there is like going bungee jumping, or like going zip lining. So you would feel alive. You're not going to die from getting a new job. You're not going to die from going and, trying something new. You could always start it as a side hustle, or you can do it without telling anybody. I'm trying out for all these things and I'm putting myself out there because I'm telling people about it. And then, Jim's like, so have you gotten any no's yet? I'm like, I have not got a no yet. I haven't gotten a yes yet, but I haven't gotten a no yet. And so is it scary? But now I'm starting to realize there's nothing scary about it. There's nothing scary about trying.
If
And
there's
so
no, you're in the same spot you started.
exactly. But I've got more experience and I entrepreneurial bungee jumped. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the whole thing. But I would impress upon everybody out there is to look for your places in life. Like with you, Skylar, quitting your job. You
Well,
know,
I feel like also to interrupt you,
no,
what
go
a big thing that you said to me was, Skylar, in 5 years, like when you look back from now, not 5 seconds, not 5 minutes, not 5 months, but 5 years from now, like what are you gonna look back and regret? Like, are you gonna wish you would have done X or Z? Like, which
yeah,
one? And
yeah,
you kind of sit there and you sit with that energy and you're like, yeah, you're right. This is a once opportunity. And even if it doesn't work out, even if that is not what would happen, like at least I didn't regret it.
yeah.
At
And
least I tried.
and a lot of people as they get older, they do say that the only thing that they do regret is regret.
Mhm. Mhm.
You always regret not doing something. Most people don't regret doing something because it added a little spice, right? Add a little spice. But you regret not doing the thing.
Mhm.
And fear is usually what's keeping you from doing the thing.
Mhm.
And so, even if you do believe in reincarnation, I would suggest to everybody, to to really look at what's holding you back, what's in your gut, because the gut is where fear lives. The gut is where courage and fear live. And so, but it's also where the answers are. If you ever want to make a good decision, go to your gut, because it's not your heart, it's not your mind. Just really focus on that gut energy. And so that's where courage lives. And so I would say to anyone out there, if you're thinking about making a change or putting yourself out there or trying something new, that is where life is. Life is, oh, and Lady Gaga, she has that I'm on the edge of glory song, right?
Okay.
And living on the edge of glory, right? And so, like, it's right between where you're at and where you're going. And so you have to be aware of making that shift, that jump, and just going for it. Just putting yourself out there and giving it a shot. That's what life's all about. I literally look at people, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I literally look at people that have had the same job for 30 years and make the same drive for 30 years doing the same thing. And I'm just like, I can't even imagine doing the same thing and not expanding in that way and trying new things and being afraid, being scared shitless that I'm putting myself out there. But I mean, I think the benefits, I mean, you tell me, you're the one that's the entrepreneur over there trying something new.
I mean, we'll see how it works out. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, it definitely, like, sitting in that place of fear is kind of what gets you going to work a little bit harder. Like, that sense of, oh my gosh, what if I do fail? Well, you're not going to let yourself fail, so you're fine. Just keep strutting on. So it's kind of that fear that pushes you, but also that fear that if you let it hold you back, can hold you back. So I guess for me, it was kind of twisting it more so into a motivator, for sure.
Yeah, and so instead of saying the word fear, let's push it even farther and say, how about we use it like inspiration, being inspired? Like, I am going to turn this fear into a catalyst for inspiration of really pushing myself forward.
And
Um,
other people's fear too, like the amount of people that were like, so you quit your job, now what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing my own thing. And they're like, isn't that like so scary? Like, aren't you like? And I'm like, no, like, I got this. Like, I'm good. I got this.
and that goes back to what we talked about last week. If you haven't watched the broadcast of last week, the blinders. Don't let people put their fears on your life, especially people that are my age. Don't listen to us.
Don't listen to people you wouldn't take advice from.
Don't listen to people you wouldn't take advice from. Don't listen to people that don't have the life that you want. Don't listen to people that are, doing the same things. They don't know your life. And so don't listen to people that are older than you about being afraid, because it is a different generation. My goals in life were so profoundly different than what your goals in life. These young people, your goals are time off. It's time, and freedom. And my whole generation was just security. Be secure, know where you're going to be every day, just live a very secure life. That's it. And so we have no concept. I mean, I do, because I'm connected to all you lunatics. But we have no concept as a whole of what that freedom means to your generation and younger. Because, I was raised by baby boomers, and they were raised by whatever that generation. I think there was the silent generation. I don't even remember. And so those are very different ideals for that people want for their life. And so we should not listen, honestly, to people above us that don't have any idea what you guys are going through and what you value. And so, I know that you've had adults tell you, I'm sure, you can't quit that job. Have you lost your mind? It's benefits. Stay there, blah, blah, blah. And I'm over there going, run, quit your job. You're under your, stepdad's health insurance. This is when it's time to make the big risks. is when you don't have to worry about things like health insurance, and you don't. So in my opinion, and anyone that's out there that's watching this, go listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, because he taught me so much about, being around 20-year-olds. And it is, make your biggest, craziest moves now when you don't have a mortgage and you don't have, a family and kids. And like when I was growing up, it was buy a house, get security, buy a car, stay in the same job. Like, think about it. Pensions don't even really exist anymore. And a pension was something where you worked in a job for 30 years. Like, that was the goal. And my goal is I want to keep reinventing myself as much as I possibly can, because to me that's stimulating. To me that's exciting. I'm trying something new. And guess what? Why would I want to do the same thing for 3, 4, 5, 10 years? Maybe I'm going to be better at something completely different.
Or in a different company, or more opportunities, more room for growth, better teams. Like,
yeah. And that's what we're seeing is your kids, your generation right now, is they're going from job to job to job. They're taking the promotion. They're not worried about job security. They're not worrying about longevity at a position, like staying with the company for years and years and years and years. They don't care. And right now is when you guys should be doing that. You guys should be trading up, trading up. I just saw recently a guy on, I think he was on TikTok, and he was talking about how he had moved from like a $40,000 a year job after college. Then he moved to like a $50,000 a year. Then it was $80,000, and it was $150,000. And it was in a very, very, he's in IT out in Silicon Valley. Very short amount of time, he had gone promotion, 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 promotion.
yeah.
And I promise you, he wasn't listening to his parents saying, you gotta stick with the company. It's very important. You have job security. He's like, I'm out. You're not willing to pay me? I'm out. This company's willing to double my salary, more time off, more freedom, more stock options, right? And that's what we're seeing from your generation, is not living by the Gen Xers, their parents' standards. Because what is important to me and what I was raised with is should not be important to you guys. You guys are reframing the entire planet. And that's why we're seeing the great, what is it, quit or whatever it's called, the resignation, is because your generation, we tolerated anything. I mean, the worst. It didn't matter. Like our job, we are like, sure, treat us like shit, pay us $6 an hour. That's all we can get. And, like, it is what it is. We're stuck with it. And your generation is like, oh,
mom's the manager.
Yes. Like, we can't quit. We'll make a bad name for ourselves. We won't be able to go to Christmas.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, like, that's the whole thing with your generation is your priorities, your values, your morals, your ethics, everything is different. And so that's what I think is so difficult for being a parent to your generation and below, is to honor and value your values and see you as separate and different, but that it's okay. Think about all the adults that you know right now. How many of them do you know that have adults, meaning, okay, like older people like me, like 50s, 40,
like
40s,
23 adult?
Yeah, not a 23-year-old adult. So like 40s and up, okay? How many adults, 40s and up, do you know that probably shouldn't be in the job that they're in? Money, misery, all that stuff. When you put it all together and you look at their life and you go, I wouldn't want to do that. Think about that. And not based on, yes, I wouldn't want the headaches, the complaints, the hours that they work, so on and so forth. And
I think that's the biggest thing with my job is I looked at the guy 5 years ahead of me and I was like, he's dealing with the same bullshit I'm dealing with, and he's 5 years with the company. And then I looked at the guy and I was like, he's 15 years with the company dealing with the what? And so I feel like that's why, like, you can't let yourself get stuck. Like, you cannot let that fear of, oh my gosh, can I get a different job? Can I do this? Can I do that? Oh my gosh, like it's going to eventually be so much better. Eventually it's going to get better. You can't let any of those fears of what could be stop you from what also could be.
What's possible. And you know what, when you think about it, I mean, like, that's why there's so many people, like nurses, that are quitting right now. It's because they're like, we're not doing this. We're not working 17 hours a day for, $35 an hour and being treated badly. I actually just saw something today. I don't remember what I was watching. And it was, why, this is so interesting. Why are patients allowed to treat nurses and hospital staff either abusively, physically abusively, and they never get any punishment? Think about that. That's so interesting. We take it as a norm, but your generation is pushing the boundaries and saying, no, if you are going to assault nurses, you are not going to be in this hospital. Like, we're not tolerating abuse. And it's so cool that your generation, your 20 somethings, are saying no more, saying no more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's from, being raised by parents that were raised by the people of the Depression and World War II, and then the boomers came in, and 6, 7 kids in a 2-bedroom house, very little food, everything was scarce, very little money for my parents' generation. And then, like, slowly these generational traumas, the generational of scarcity and not enough and fear, and we got this, we got to hold on to it with all of our might, because if we lose this, it's going to be way worse. And that's literally the energy that my Generation X, was raised with, which was of complete and utter scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but like a large majority of us were raised in a scarcity based situation. And what your generation is understanding with manifestation and vision boards and entrepreneur and not putting up with bullshit, we're getting farther and farther away from that scarcity mindset and the fears that were impressed upon us by my parents' generation and her parents' generation. And let me say, by no fault of their own, we are all just products of our environment and what we've had to deal with. I mean, we will probably have a very different take on things like germs. And, your generation will look at germs and vaccines a very different way. And so that, like, it's just a very different fear. Uh-oh, the cat's in the house.
She jumped up on here. She couldn't help it.
What is that bell that she's got going on?
Because we have other cats, so she can't be mean and scare them.
Oh, gotcha.
So if she gets lost, it's a little tag.
She's in an apartment. I don't so much think she's going to get lost so much.
Take her on walks.
You're ridiculous. Kurt, thanks so much for being here. I love your little circle face guy. That's pretty cute. I really like that. Before we close out today, we're almost at an hour already. I don't know how. That was a fun conversation. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to the conversation of being, raised by generations and fears and, keeping your blinders on and not listening to your parents? And I talk about this all the time on TikTok. All the time I'm telling people, don't think that you have to listen to your parents. They will hold you back. They don't know what's best for you 9 times out of 10. I mean,
She told me
stuff.
not to get a cat. She told me not to get a cat.
Yeah, I sort of did. Because it was going to ruin my show, the cat.
Jen, is the cat bell fear-based or not fear-based? Definitely fear-based. I like to listen to everything that she's doing. I would be a helicopter parent.
And let me just tell you, this is the same girl that's like, Mom, you can raise my kids for me. It's fine. Like, if I have a kid, you're raising her. And I'm like, or him. I'm like, no, I've raised 4 kids. I do not want to raise any other children. And now all of a sudden you're like helicopter crazy cat lady.
I wipe my cat's butt after it goes to the bathroom. Like
I think I need a new co-host. I don't think that I can go on with this right here. I'm just not sure. My son's sending me pictures of him and his dog. You've got this crazy cat. I don't know what's happening. Like, neither of you are animal people. I didn't think so. I don't know what's up.
I don't know. I don't know. The
There were
energy.
I know, right? There were two speakers going on up there. I just want to make sure we don't miss any comments.
It was Jen commenting.
So fun. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Annette, Kleber, Kurt, Jen, thank you so much for being here. Share the replay with friends if you have anyone that you know that's dealing with fear or generational trauma, generational issues with regard to like really stepping out on your own and having your own life, etc. And we will be back here again next Monday, same exact time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Keeping it real, we are talking about all sorts of different topics. I'm never really going to change the keeping it real. Like I just think that we just kind of come up with our topics as the week unfolds. But come back, please, again next week. Tell your friends if you liked our conversation. Again, this is my co-host, producer, and helper of all things of the show, my daughter Skylar. And she is 23 years old, and she is my my second child. But we're going to be here just talking about all sorts of topics. Bring a question. Email me at meredithwillits@gmail.com if you have any topics you want us to talk about, or just bring your comments or questions to the show. But thank you guys so much for being here. This has been great. Thanks, Skylar.
That have to circle back around. How's your eyes?
Oh, my eyes are much better. Yes, I don't have any makeup on because I got like hot pepper. I took my sweater off that I had on all day that I had made dinner with, and I got hot pepper juice all in my eyes and face, and I literally thought I was going to have to go to the emergency room. So I washed everything off of my face, and so that's why I look a little wacky, but it's because I got like
We got through the show. We're here.
we got the show, and that's what matters. So I like, literally was texting Skylar, or had my husband call Skylar, and I said, tell her we got to cancel the show. And she's like, no, let's keep it real. I'm like, I can't open my damn eyes. We can't keep it real. So there's that.
Alrighty. You guys have a beautiful night. Thank you for hopping on. I love you, Mom. Good night.
Love you. Have a good night, and we'll see you guys here next Monday.